Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm sure you can all guess what we're going to be discussing in this video because I put it in the title. So yes, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Please also let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think that silly season starting so early was a good idea, or if you're with me on the bad idea train. I don't think any of the teams or the drivers should have made any decisions regarding where they're going to have a drive for 2021 or who they're going to sign for 2021. Apart from the drivers who were engaged in long-term contract deals, I don't think anyone should have made any decisions regarding their future just yet. So yes, in this video I will basically be exploring the reasons why we shouldn't have made these decisions so early on in the season, and also looking at who has won in this situation and who are the losers. So to begin with, we will have a look at our long-term contract drivers. So these are the drivers who confirmed their contracts, which are usually multi-year deals, and they confirmed them towards the end of 2019, during 2019, or also in early 2020. George Russell was widely believed to be on a 3-year contract deal with Williams until the end of 2021. Esteban Ocon, we know, has now signed a 2-year deal with Renault till the end of 2021. Lando Norris in 2019 was suspected to have signed a 3-year deal with McLaren to take him up to the end of 2022. Sergio Perez also is one of the drivers that was supposed to have a 3-year contract deal until the end of 2022. Max Verstappen in the Red Bull is contracted until the end of 2023, and Charles Leclerc has the longest contract extension on the grid at the moment and is contracted with Ferrari until the end of 2024. Now, I completely understand what some of these teams are doing in this respect. They're trying to secure a driver for the long term, and I think it's a great idea, especially with the teams like Ferrari and Red Bull definitely looking to the future and who is going to be future World Championship material for them. The long-term contracted drivers aren't really an issue in this situation. I'm more talking about the drivers who have been contracted to drive for teams and the contract was decided after coronavirus and the uncertainty kind of swept in. In that category of drivers, we have Carlos Sainz to begin with, who signed a 2-year deal for Ferrari until the end of 2022. We also have Daniel Ricciardo, who signed a 2-year deal, I think, with McLaren until the end of 2022 also. We knew that Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo would be key players in the transfer market in 2021, and I think that has played out. I definitely understand that if you want a certain driver, you've got to go and take them, and someone like Daniel Ricciardo is definitely a hot commodity in the driver market. So I understand that McLaren wanted to reach out and snap him up as soon as they could. We also have Fernando Alonso, who is on a 2-year deal with the option for an extension in 2023. And then just last week, we had Nicholas Latifi confirmed to stay alongside George Russell at Williams until the end of 2021. Now, for me, I don't think any of those drivers should have made that decision just yet. And there are several reasons as to why I think that, so we're going to get into them right now. Reason number 1, this season had not started. Now, I don't think you should make decisions unless the season has started, because there can be changes in performance of the car, changes in the performance of the driver, and you don't want to be making decisions on that stuff until you've seen the most recent form, the most recent performance from either the driver or the team. We can literally see this now. I think that Carlos Sainz would be making a backward step if he were to go to Ferrari. Obviously, we don't know how the season's going to play out and if Ferrari is going to be able to claw its way back up the championship order. But if I was Carlos Sainz, I would be wanting to stay in that McLaren right now. So I wonder if he's regretting that decision. Reason 2. We had our regulations pushed back, and that was announced in like March or April. So quite soon after the opening races were cancelled, we heard that the regulations would not be changing in 2021, but rather in 2022, which means that the teams are going to have to deal with having their 2020 car during 2021, as development has also been very much restricted for the 2021 cars. So now drivers that are switching teams are going to have to kind of get used to driving another car. And we all know that the braking point, the downforce, the engine power, it all changes with the car that you're in. And so a driver is going to now have to adapt so that he can do the best he can in 2021 and then also then adapt again to the 2022 cars. That's a lot of adaptation to be done, and personally I feel that the teams would have been better sticking with the same driver in 2020 and 2021 in order to help them in point 3, development. So because there are aspects of the car that are not allowed to be touched, for example the chassis, suspension, those aspects are locked. The teams are not going to be able to alter them. So it's very much going to be about altering little things on the car to help it improve. And if a driver hasn't been driving that car for the entirety of 2020, it's going to be difficult for them to help develop the car for 2021. I feel like the first 3 points definitely all link into each other, and I feel like the drivers and teams have made it a little bit more difficult for themselves in the short run in terms of development and getting the most out of their 2020 and their 2021 car. Okay, so the last point is the one that bothers me the most, and it is the impact that the driver market is having on the young driver academies. I think the Ferrari Driver Academy and the Renault Driver Academy are definitely going to suffer as a result of the decisions and the early decisions that Ferrari and Renault have made. It's interesting because Ferrari have 5 junior academy members in Formula 2 at the minute, and there are not 5 Ferrari seats on the grid. So it's an interesting thing that they've brought in Sainz, who already isn't a Ferrari Driver Academy member, and so now that's taken away from the seats of the potential Ferrari Driver Academy drivers that could then move up into Formula 1. All 5 of those drivers obviously won't be ready to move up into Formula 1 in 2020, and it's highly likely that they will be in the Alfa Romeo to begin with, but still, there's only 2 seats at the Alfa Romeo, and if one of them does really well in their first year, you might want to graduate them in 2022, but lo and behold, there's no seat because Carlos Sainz is contracted with Ferrari until 2022. Now, I know contracts don't always mean the most in Formula 1 and there will be ways to break it, but I think Ferrari have shot themselves in the foot a little bit and potentially screwed over some of their younger drivers. The Renault Driver Academy as well, there are 2 very capable drivers in Christian Lundgaard and Guan Yu Zhou, who Renault have completely screwed over. Esteban Ocon is contracted to the end of 2021 and Fernando Alonso till the end of 2022 officially. I've already talked about how I don't think that Fernando Alonso was the right option for Renault, and this is a big reason why. I think if those Formula 2 drivers do well this year, especially Guan Yu Zhou, who is in his 2nd year of Formula 2 now, if he does well this year, there's going to be nowhere for him to go because Fernando Alonso is taking up a seat that should be open for those juniors to jump up into. So the early decision making that the teams have done has not only been to the detriment of some of the drivers and teams, but also to the detriment of the younger drivers in certain academies. The teams that have been looking for short-term certainty and consistency have now traded in their long-term potential growth and security in the future. So I'm gonna go through who I think are the winners and the losers, and by the tone of this video you can definitely tell that I think there are more losers in this situation than there are winners, but time will tell if I'm right or I am wrong. My winners, there are only 3 winners. So I have Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren and Fernando Alonso. Daniel Ricciardo has obviously won because he is going to a better midfield team, and I think his relationship with Renault has not been that great. His expectations have not been met, so it's great that he's managed to get himself out. Also, McLaren, kind of a win as well. I think it's disappointing that they have lost Carlos Sainz, but Daniel Ricciardo coming into partner Lando Norris will be a great pairing both on and off track, and I think they will definitely benefit from that. Fernando Alonso is also a winner because he wanted to get back into Formula 1 in any way that he could, and now he has a seat. So yeah, he's definitely won in that respect because Renault will be bending over backwards to get him what he wants whenever he wants it. On the other hand, we have quite a few losers. So at the top of that list, I think, is Carlos Sainz. I don't think it was the right call for him to move from McLaren to Ferrari, especially only on a 2-year deal. I just think he's going to be an expendable member of the team that is used to fill a seat until there is a Ferrari Driver Academy driver ready to take over that seat in the Ferrari. And not even mentioning how bad that Ferrari car is at the minute. Carlos Sainz, I think, would have been so much better staying at McLaren. The McLaren car looks better than the Ferrari this year, so... The next loser is Renault. They have lost out by bringing Alonso into the team. It's definitely a short-term gain. I talked about this in my Alonso video, so go check that out. But Alonso is a short-term gain and it's not going to work out for Renault. Leading me on to the next one, which is the Renault Driver Academy, has definitely lost out. It means that even if Renault are going to give them the option to get into Formula 1 eventually, they're going to have to wait at least 1 or 2 years for a seat to open up, and I just don't think that's fair on those drivers. Same with the Ferrari young drivers. I think their best shot is now at an Alpha seat, and 3 does not go into 2, so there's going to be a Ferrari driver that misses out on a seat. Not just in 2021, but beyond. I just don't think there's room for all 3 of those drivers in Formula 1 now that Ferrari have moved Carlos Sainz up into their main team. Another loser is Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, he didn't even get the opportunity to prove what he could do on track in 2020. He did not get the opportunity to prove that he and Leclerc can have on-track battles and not crash into each other. I mean, that kind of happened in Styria, but he didn't get the opportunity to prove that before Ferrari showed him the door, which I think is very disrespectful and so disappointing. Sergio Perez is another loser in this situation just because of the rumours that are circulating now. As a result of Ferrari letting Sebastian Vettel go, his seat at Racing Point is now at risk, and even though he is contracted to Racing Point until the end of 2022, that contract could definitely be broken for Racing Point to bring in the 4-time world champion in Sebastian Vettel. So yeah, I definitely think there are way more losers, and the list will probably go on and on as transfers start happening within the season and silly season gets fully underway. So yes, that is my opinion, my humble opinion on this situation. Who do you think has lost out in this situation? Who do you think has gained? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.